like the rushing wind. Would you breathe within my heart, And through the raging storm, would you hold me in your arms? 'Cause I need you. How I need you. I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart. To your heart. And through the wind and rain, I can hear you call my name. When the nights get rough, I will still sing out your praise. 'Cause I need you. How I need you. 'Cause I need you. I need your love like I need water. And I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart. Your heart. Your heart. And closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the song I sing, closer than anything, closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the song I sing, closer than anything, closer, closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the song I sing, closer than anything. I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer. I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart. Your heart. Your heart. It's where I wanna be forever. In your heart. Your heart. Your heart. 'Cause I don't wanna move without you. I just wanna be in your heart. Your heart. Your heart. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart. Pull me a little closer, take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart. I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart. Yeah. One more time, just one time. So pull me a little closer. Take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart. I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart. I wanna know your heart. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend.
Hey, what's up, online family? It's Wes here. Just want to welcome you. If you haven't heard, it's Easter Sunday, and we're just excited for what's about to happen. The worship, got some cool elements, a cool spoken word, just a lot of cool stuff. And if you haven't heard our announcement, we're launching our online kids service. So if you're at home watching and you have kids, message us for those details. We'll send you the link to where they can get their Jesus on and get to participate in some fun, cool games and stuff like that. So can't wait to see how God moves today. If you're new, if this is your first time, make sure you drop an emoji or type in all caps that says I'm new. One of our host teams will reach out to you, send you a private message after the service, and we want to just connect with you. One, we're going to mail you a free gift, and we just want to love on you and get to know you a little bit better and let you know a little bit more about us. So can't wait. Let's get ready to worship. Make sure you just get rid of all distractions. Just focus in. If you're watching with your kids and your family, make sure you just get in so they can engage in the worship as well too. So love you guys. Let me pray real quick. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for what you're going to do today. We know you have big plans, and we thank you for everybody that's going to watch and attend service, God. We just ask that you move in only a way that you can, God, and you just help us connect with you in this time, God. We lift everybody up. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I searched the world, it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise, treasures of faith were never enough. Then you worship you. I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here and you're healing every heart. I worship you, yeah. I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And that is who you are. Yeah, that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Jesus, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. I know you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. And that is who you are. That is who you are. Jesus, that is who you are.
I guess it's safe to say, in a day where we part ways with the phrase, hey, be safe, that we would seem reckless to not practice putting a distance between us and covering our faces with a mask because lives are at stake. And not to negate the reality of its pain, but beyond this pandemic, there's a much bigger plague, which breaks me to convey that its recovery rate ain't so great. Who made it okay to treat people in ways inhumane? How many are hiding in caves and barricaded by shame? The spread of this plague is increasing its pace because too often the people of God are afraid to give grace. So now people who've made mistakes have to put on a mask to save face, but hey, be safe. Safety is confined by the lines that keep us from risk. Yet we've missed the bigger picture that risk is a prerequisite to actually make a difference. The greatest influences in history had to step out of comfortability to see past what is to what could be, knowing that rejection and scrutiny would happen inevitably. There's trafficking and slavery, injustice and inequality, bigotry and censoring. I better shut up or they might cancel me. But I won't let that silence me. No, I ain't going down that easily, because I'm sick of the hypocrisy of accuse you but excuse me. But honestly, what do I expect? They did it to Jesus for exposing the posers and all their religious BS. Yes, that's the Jesus I follow. The one whose teachings are difficult to swallow if you're trying to act holy but on the inside you're hollow. But still though, he forgives us for what we don't know. Because truth is, we don't know what we don't know. Pleading ignorance ought to be our motto. I ain't here for show. Jesus put me on his tab because he knew I was broke. And for all y'all, the same goes. If you're willing to wear humility from your wardrobe, so throw off your grave clothes. You never even needed those. You are called out and chosen. You're thawed out, not frozen. It's no time now to throw in the towel of your calling. So breathe out and breathe in. Take the mask down to the trash can. Just breathe out and breathe in. Let your brain slow down and your lungs expand. I'm building up resilience in my soul's immune system so I don't have to be fearful when I'm getting close to people, because the virus that they carry is affecting all humanity. The infection of insanity, continually trying to earn what's given freely. There's a disease to please and a pandemic of no peace. We're created for community, not to be surrounded and still lonely. We're sick of comparing, yet addicted to sharing, as if they're really caring about my well-being. As of right now, I'm declaring my victory and healing. No more isolating and worry, not scared of anybody. The healer is within me. I have the antibodies. Injected in my bloodstream, a supernatural vaccine, straight through the main artery, awakening the heart in me. No longer mine, but his heart. Redemption and resurrection was planned from the start. From creation to ascension, God became man incarnate. And he left us in wonder. Now our souls won't depart, because he'd rather be 6 feet under than 6 feet apart.
Well, I stopped going to church a couple years ago when someone that I trusted very much and loved and respected was in our home, and told myself and my husband that our marriage in the eyes of God did not count because Matt is my second husband.
I'm stuck in many pits. Alcoholism, women, food. I'm bound by all of the addictions.
When Don and I got married, we both had children from previous marriages, and never knowing at the time that our children were probably slipping into addiction. And it was about a year or two after being married that it started surfacing. Knowing they're on the street or they're here or they're there and they may not have anything to eat or a place to sleep. And that's when at night when you lay down, it's tough. Yeah, it's real tough.
When he first started an addiction, it was almost like it was 12 years ago. So at the beginning of the addiction, it was like I was going through it alone. My family was ripped apart. Everything was crumbling around me. My son was no better. My marriage was no better. My life was in turmoil.
Being lost and not really knowing the purpose of life and not really knowing like the meaning of what I was here for and what to do and stuff, and let everybody use me and I use them, and it was terrible. You know, I fell into addiction, and it really, I thought at the time it was just hurting myself but not hurting nobody else.
I mean, we lost everything, so family, home, you know, everything, and I definitely lost myself during that as well.
Waking up to a new sunrise, looking back from the other side. I can see now with open eyes, darkest waters and deepest pain. I wouldn't trade it for anything, 'cause my brokenness brought me to you, and these wounds are a story you'll use. So I'm thankful for the scars, 'cause without them I wouldn't know your heart. And I know they'll always tell of who you are. So forever I am thankful for the scars.
came across these wonderful, crazy women who wanted to work out and who loved Jesus and loved compassion, and here I am. The moment I walked in the doors, I felt like I was at home. I am Christy.
Got arrested 2 days after being arrested. The second day after being arrested, my faith rose up inside of me. And I knew something had shifted, something had changed. I made up in my mind that I was going to serve Christ. And I never wavered. I stayed true to Him for the whole time that I was in prison. I wore His banner upon me. I was given an opportunity to be released early, but I declared it from way before in faith and believing He was going to get me out before Christmas. And He got me out. I am Deshaun.
Only until I surrendered myself to Him, because the whole time I was thinking how much I prayed for my son and everything else, but I never prayed for me, that am I worthy? I'm also worthy, because I'm also a child of God. He loves me too, you know. So He wanted me. You know, I can pray for my son all day long and I can pray for my marriage, but until I surrender myself to the Lord, then nothing is ever going to change. I am Diana.
Our daughter still battles some. She's beautiful. We love her to death. We told her we're here for her when that time comes and she's ready to change her life. A couple weeks ago, Tyler got baptized with us. It was amazing. He's done fantastic with his life. He's turned it around. I am Mike.
I think everything changed for me once I walked through the doors at the Hope Center and realized that I wasn't the only broken person out there, and that it was, you know, I was lost, but I was with a group of people that were just like me. We were lost and we were missing something in our life, and we needed to have something to fill that gap in our life, and it was Jesus the whole time. I am Stephen. After
He went to the Hope Center and we went to the Fearless Friday, and I had a really bad week that week. The last thing I wanted to do was be there, and they played the Waymaker song, and I looked over and Stephen was raising his hands, and I felt God say, you're getting everything you wanted, it's just not how you thought it was going to look like. I am TJ.
I'm thankful for your scars, 'cause without them I wouldn't know your heart. And with my life I'll tell of who you are. So forever I am thankful. I'm thankful for the scars, 'cause without them I wouldn't know your heart. And I know they'll always tell of who you are. So forever I am thankful for the scars. So forever I am thankful for the scars.
I used to love it on whatever night of the week when my parents would call me into the room and say, sit down, I want to read you a book. This book is a tale of something. Maybe it was the tale of Brer Rabbit, man. I love those stories. Well, today we're going to be talking about a tale. And it's a tale of two gardens. One of those gardens is the Garden of Eden. And I don't know what you think about when you think about the Garden of Eden, but man, my mind just begins to picture our earth, our creation in its most pristine state. Like, can you even imagine, right? We look at pictures like Colorado and the Rocky Mountains and the streams and the water and the mountains and the snow. That's in a world where there's rampant pollution. That's in a world where factories are just chugging all kinds of pollution into the waters and into the sky. Can you imagine what God's creation at its finest, purest point looked like? That's the Garden of Eden. You think, well, Jeff, yeah, it was like that, but what happened? Well, what happened was things got janky. Things got sideways, and what at one point was perfect and beautiful and everything that God created, it got distorted. It became broken. Maybe that sounds familiar in your life. Can you remember a moment in your life? Can you remember one decision that you made where everything changed? It's a heck of a question, isn't it? Can you maybe remember how when things used to be a time in life where you think about Christmases and everything was beautiful and it was you and her and the kids and laughter and you thought it was going to be perfect forever, and then you made that one decision and everything was broken. Or maybe you remember your business being at a point where you were so optimistic, man, sales were off the charts and you knew you were on to something and you were making great decisions and the business was going and growing and doing amazing things. And then you made that one decision that if you could go back in time, you would change it all. You knew you shouldn't have gotten into that, but you did. And in just a moment, everything that was beautiful became broken. That's what happened in the Garden of Eden. You probably know the story, man. The story kind of goes like God creates this garden and it's beautiful and He creates man, and all of life began in the Garden of Eden. All of life began there. And God loved the people that He created, and He created this lush garden and He created it for them. And He said to Adam and Eve, the first man, the first woman that He created, He said, look, I made all of this. And I've made it for you. Can you imagine the apple trees in the Garden of Eden, how sweet and wonderful those apples would have been? Can you imagine? I created it all. I created it for you. Go and enjoy it. Enjoy it all. You mean we can have all of it, God? You can have anything you see. All of it? Well, there is that one tree. There's the one tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and it's right at the center of the garden. Just stay away from that. It's not good for you. Don't mess with that tree. Don't mess with that tree. Everything else is available to you. Psh. Y'all know how that story goes. You know how that went down. And so the serpent, temptation, shows up in the garden. The fruit is offered to Eve. She takes, Adam takes, they eat. God shows up. Hey! Where y'all at? They're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. We're naked. We're afraid. God, we don't want to talk. Who told you were naked? Why are you afraid? You've never been that way before. So God begins to talk to them, knowing that what they've done, knowing that this Garden of Eden has just brought about this thing nobody had ever heard of before. What's it called? It's called death. The Garden of Eden is where death began. So God begins to talk to Eve. To the woman He said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. Well, we never had that before. Yeah, that's right, because you never broke my rules before. Remember when everything was great, everything was wonderful? When you were following and God was leading, it was all good. But now that there's brokenness, now there's consequences. Oh, but that's not all. God spoke to Eve, but then he turns his attention to Adam. And to Adam he said, Genesis 3, verse 17, because you've listened to the voice of your wife, you've eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Because of all of this, Adam, cursed is the ground because of you. In pain, you shall eat of it all of your life. Thorns and thistles it'll bring forth for you. You shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So when you're going to that factory and working and the sweat's pouring out of you, when you're going to your job and you're coming home and you're exhausted, when you get to heaven one day, look up Adam. You can thank him. You can just go ahead and tell him, thank you, Adam. Hope you enjoyed it because I had to work all my life because you did that thing. Well, that's where it all began, man. Death entered into our world because of one thing, because of man's decision to choose self over God. Even though God gave us his very best, our decision to choose self. And so when you look at your own life, man, and you look at the consequences and the destruction, when you look at the death, the sorrow, the grief, the anxiety, when you look at the isolation and all of the things that are a part of your life, can I just tell you, it's not God's plan. It's not his original plan. But God knew we were going to go through some things in this life. And that's why we needed the cross. That's why we need Jesus. That's why we need Easter. And that takes us to our second garden. It's a garden that you may or may not have heard of. It's a garden called the Garden of Gethsemane. The Garden of Gethsemane. It's a garden where on the night when events started to move into action that would lead Jesus to go to the cross, that's where Jesus found himself. That word, Gethsemane, it's a word that means an olive press. And an olive press, to be able to get the beautiful, pure olive oil, such a staple of the Mediterranean diet in the world that Jesus lived in, to be able to get that precious olive oil, the olives had to be placed into a press and crushed and crushed and crushed. And after crushing, the oil would run out. The Garden of Gethsemane is the place where Jesus would enter into the press and he would be crushed. But it's not olive oil that's going to flow out of him. It is the precious blood of the Lamb of God. And his blood would be shed for all of mankind. So on that night, you may know the story, Jesus called his guys. He said, meet me in the upper room. He'd been telling them for a while that he was going to have to go to the cross, that he would give his life for them. They didn't get it. They didn't believe. And on that night, he calls them to the upper room. And while they're there, he says to Judas, he says to the whole crew, really? One of you is going to betray me tonight? Judas looks at him. They make eye contact. Judas leaves. And things start being set into motion. And that night, after they finish up in the upper room, Jesus calls his disciples to go with him to the Garden of Gethsemane. Because the Garden of Gethsemane is a place where life and redemption began to come back to mankind. The Garden of Eden is a place, and this is so crazy, this is wild to me. When I think about the Garden of Gethsemane and the Garden of Eden began in such immaculate beauty. But by the end, it was a place of death and sorrow and isolation and destruction, despair, hopelessness. The Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus got there, man, he knew that he was going to face betrayal. He knew that he would face being beaten. He knew that he was going to face going to the cross where he would ultimately die. The Garden of Gethsemane began with despair and fear and agony and restlessness. And it would end with glory and victory and hope. Exactly the opposite of how the Garden of Eden ended. Jesus made his way to that garden. And in Luke 22, we read that he withdrew about a stone's throw beyond him. He knelt down and prayed and said, Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me. Maybe you've heard that before. What Jesus is saying is, God, I know that when I left heaven and came into this world, There was one reason I was coming here, and it's because people have made decisions just like they did in the Garden of Eden that have led to brokenness, and their brokenness has separated them from you. And your plan now is a plan to redeem them, and it's a plan that can only be accomplished if I go to the cross. And the cross that Jesus went to would look nothing like this cross. It was an old, rugged cross. And he knew that that's where he was going. If there's any way, Father, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. The anguish of Jesus in that moment. Knowing in that moment that what is about to happen. Two things. One, not only are they going to take me out of this garden that I'm going into right now, this Garden of Gethsemane, they're going to come and get me from this garden. They're going to take me, they're going to tie me up, whip me, beat me, and I'll almost die in the whipping and the beating. But that's just the physical part. The spiritual part is they're going to put me on a cross. And on that cross, I'm going to be separated from my Father who I've always been connected with. I've always had power because of my relationship with the Father. But on that cross, when I get to that place where I have to pay the price for the sin of mankind, the Father will turn his back on me. And I'm going to be on that cross. And Jesus knew on the cross he would be alone. And he would be taking on the punishment for all the sin of all mankind. And the passage of Scripture continues and says, an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. Being in anguish, he prayed even more earnestly, turmoil in Jesus' soul for what he would personally go through and the sin of all mankind that he's been sent to pay the price for. His sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Jesus sweat drops of blood because of our sin. And I thank God that that's not where it ends. Because in the Garden of Gethsemane, I said to you earlier, that's where life and redemption began to come back to mankind. See, the cross had to take place. And if we fast forward in the events that took place on that very first Easter, we find Jesus on a cross. In John 19:30 said, when he had received the drink, Jesus said, it is finished. And with that, he bowed his head and he gave up his spirit. Jesus on the cross, after the whipping, after the beating, after the puncture with the spikes into his hands, into his feet, the crown of thorns placed on his head, all of the wounds and all of the bleeding and all of that. It's coming to a point. Jesus takes one last breath. And his last word in the original Greek is the word tetelestai. And that word means it is finished. Tetelestai is an accounting term, and it's an accounting term that says you have a bill that is due. There is a debt that you owe. But now, the great debt that you owe that you can't pay, someone has come along for you and they have paid that debt, and they've said to you now, you are free from this bill. You couldn't pay it on your own. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to mankind. Tetelestai, Jesus breathed his last breath. It is finished. And he gave up his spirit. And I thank God that that's not where the story of Easter ends. Because if it ended there, Jesus would have been just another man who died on just another Roman cross. But we know that that took place on Friday. On Saturday, he was in the grave, and on Sunday, Jesus was resurrected. Jesus was resurrected. And because he came back to life, because he finished it, because the Father brought him back from death to life, what did Jesus do? With those arms stretched out, he made it possible not just for him to come back from death to life, but for you, for me, for us to come back from death to life. And with those arms stretched out, Jesus is saying, he's saying, hey, I see you there. I see you in that graveyard. I see you in your mourning. And I have paid the price for you. I love you. And you can't get out of that graveyard on your own. But because of what I did on the cross, because of tetelestai, because I paid the price. I want to ask you a question. Why would you stay in a place of death and hopelessness? Why would you stay in a place of misery, in a place where there's loss and grief today? Will you come out of the cemetery? Will you come out of death? I have a new place for you. Jesus extends His arm and says, come from where you are. And I want you to come to the place that I have prepared for you. I want you to come out of death and come to the place that I've prepared for you. I want you to experience all that I have. Because of the finished work of Jesus on the cross, everyone now has an invitation to the table. And the table is a place where there's family. The table is a place where there's love, where there's acceptance. There's no more sorrow. There's no more grief because of what I've done. The table is a place where there's love, where there's hope. The table is a place that God has prepared for you. What is this table you're talking about, Jeff? At the end of the Word of God that He's given to us. In Revelation 19, 7, 8, and 9, it says, let us rejoice and be glad and give Him glory, for the wedding of the Lamb has come, and His bride has made herself ready. Who is this Lamb? The Lamb is Jesus. He's the groom. And the bride is the followers of Jesus, His church, big C, capital church, people all around the world, throughout all time, who have bowed their knee to follow Jesus and are in that relationship with Him. He's made it ready. Fine linen, bright and clean, was given her to wear. Fine linen stands for the righteous acts of God's holy people. And then the angel said to me, write this, blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb. And he added, these are the true words of God. And the question that I've come here today to ask to you is this one simple question. Wherever you are in your life today, whatever you're living with, some of you who are hearing this right now, your life looks more like the graveyard, the destruction from the Garden of Eden. Your life looks more like death, like isolation, like sorrow for the things that you've done. But you've been trying so hard to get out of that place, to get to a better place. And Jesus is saying to you today this one simple question: will you take your seat today at God's table? And if your answer to that question is yes, Jeff, that's all I've ever wanted. I know I made some bad decisions. I know I screwed things up, but that was then, and I've been paying for it my whole life, Jeff. How do I get out of it? It starts with you saying, God, I know. God, I'm sorry. God, I believe in what you did at the cross. Did you do that for me? And God's looking at you, His child, and saying, I did that for you because I'm not okay with us being separated. And today God's saying to you, will you move from where you were to where I want you to be? And if your answer to that question is yes, it begins with faith. And faith is in believing, but it's also in taking the next step of declaring, God, I'll follow you. Are you ready to take that step right now? If you are, just close your eyes. Right there, wherever you are, just close your eyes. You and God having a conversation. Oh, God, I'm so sick of being in that place. God, I know who I am. I know what I've done. And I can't change it. I can't fix it. But God, I believe that you can fix my messes. Today, I'm surrendering to you, God. I'm giving you my life. And God, I want to take my seat at your table today. God, I believe in you. I believe in what you've done for me. Now I want you to look. Open your eyes right there where you are. I want you to look at this table. Do you see that chair? There's a chair that's seated right there for you. That's God saying to you today, I've been waiting on you. What's taking you so long? Take your seat at the table of God. My prayer for you is that this Easter won't be about bunny rabbits. It won't be about Easter eggs. This will be the day that your life changed. You stepped out of the cemetery, out of the graveyard, and took your seat at the table of God. If that's you, we want to help you. All I'm asking you to do is let us know right there in the comments. Type it out. Type it out. I said yes. All I'm asking you to do, if that's you today, type it in the comments. I said yes. And our team's going to follow up with you, and we're going to help you to take your next steps to start moving into the life that God planned for you. So proud of you. God bless you.
Man, what a service. And I know I say that every week, but I mean, every week is just good for me. Last week we got to hear Jackie, and today we hear a tale of two gardens. And man, we just want to know how it impacted you. If you have accepted Christ for the first time, or if you want to take a next step, if you want to get involved, if you want to find out your purpose and what God is calling you to, hit that Next Steps link in the description. It'll give you all sorts of options, and we're going to reach out and follow up and just see how we can help you in this journey. And secondly, if you are new today, we have a meet and greet. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description. You can click on that. But it's going to happen starting next Sunday. After each service, we'll have a quick meet and greet. So if you're going to want to get involved in that and know a little bit more about the staff and the online team, that's where you do it. Just click on that meet and greet link and we'll get you hooked up. All right, guys, we love you. We hope that you were blessed by that message, and we want to know how you were blessed. So if you want to create a post, screenshot one of your favorite elements of today's service, create a post, tag us in it, just so we can celebrate with you. If you've accepted Christ, we want to rejoice, we want to praise, because you have just crossed over from death to life, right? And so we just want to celebrate that and just to know how we can help you. So please reach out, let us know how we can just make you part of this family. So love you guys. Happy Easter. We hope you have a great day, and see you next week.